24 college students walked into a fake prison in 1971. 6 days later, half of them had broken down completely. You've heard this story. Ordinary young men, handed a costume and a badge, turned into monsters almost overnight. No training, no instructions, just a role. It's been taught in psychology classrooms for over 50 years. It's been cited in courtrooms, used to explain real acts of cruelty, and most of it never happened the way you were told. In August 1971, Stanford psychologist Philip Zimbardo built a mock prison in a basement. 24 male students screened for stability randomly split into prisoners and guards. By day 2, the guards had started escalating things fast. Prisoners were stripped naked, denied food, denied sleep, forced through humiliating drills. One prisoner had a breakdown so severe he had to be released early. The study was meant to run 2 weeks. Zimbardo shut it down after 6 days. Give ordinary people power over others, and cruelty appears almost automatically. That was the lesson. Zimbardo testified in a real 2004 court case, defending a soldier accused of abuse. His argument: this isn't about bad people, it's about the box you put them in. For 50 years, that was the story. Then researchers actually checked the tapes. The guards weren't left alone to discover cruelty spontaneously. Archival material shows they were coached, given a list of rules to dehumanize prisoners, and the prisoner whose breakdown became famous later described it differently, as a way out, not a collapse. Psychologists call this demand characteristics, people sensing what a study wants and producing it. The popular reading starts falling apart. Maybe it wasn't spontaneous evil at all. Zimbardo pushed back hard, insisting the coaching was minor guidance, not a script. In 2002, the exact same setup was restaged for a BBC documentary without coaching guards. This time, the guards hesitated instead of escalating. It was the prisoners who organized and rebelled against their captors. Maybe the real lesson isn't coaching versus spontaneity. Maybe it's about expectations. Zimbardo built a prison to study power. What he may have built instead was a mirror. 50 years later, one question is still unresolved. Was the cruelty uncovered or built? The basement is empty now. The tapes are still being studied. The answer still isn't in. But the Stanford Prison Experiment wasn't the only crack in the story. As psychologists revisited the evidence, a larger problem emerged. If one of the most famous experiments in modern psychology could be misunderstood for decades, how many others had become legends instead of science? Replication became the new standard. Researchers around the world began repeating classic psychological studies, expecting the same dramatic results. Many never appeared again. Human behavior, it turned out, was far more complicated than a single experiment could capture. Critics argued that the Stanford Prison Experiment suffered from more than coaching. The sample was tiny. Every participant was a young male college student. There was no proper control group, and the man running the experiment wasn't just an observer. Philip Zimbardo had appointed himself the prison superintendent, placing himself inside the system he was supposed to study objectively. That decision may have changed everything. Instead of remaining a neutral scientist, Zimbardo became part of the prison's authority. Participants didn't simply respond to guards, they responded to him as well. Every conversation, every instruction, every decision carried the weight of the experiment's creator. Separating genuine behavior from subtle influence became nearly impossible. Yet despite these criticisms, the experiment refuses to disappear. Open almost any introductory psychology textbook, and chances are you'll still find photographs of blindfolded prisoners and uniformed guards walking through Stanford's halls. The images are unforgettable, the story is simple, and simple stories spread much faster than complicated corrections. Even today, the experiment continues to shape discussions about military abuse, policing, prisons, and institutional power. Supporters argue that, flawed or not, it revealed something real about how environments influence behavior. Critics respond that if the evidence itself is unreliable, the conclusions cannot be trusted. The debate has expanded far beyond one basement in California. It now asks a deeper question about science itself. What happens when an experiment becomes famous before it becomes certain? History is filled with ideas that survived because they were persuasive, not because they were correct. Once a story enters classrooms, documentaries, and popular culture, correcting it becomes incredibly difficult. The original narrative hardens into accepted truth, while later evidence struggles to catch up. Perhaps that's the most unsettling part of the Stanford Prison Experiment.